write a bunch of code and then go over it, but I figured might as well just create a video while I'm doing it. So the first things first, I just created a new project by going to File, New Project. I selected two things. I used Gradle, Java, and I clicked Kotlin using the JVM, and then next, and it takes like a couple minutes, maybe it's like a minute and 35 seconds in order to get this all to get set up with the Gradle. So the first things first is I have an outline over here. It's not fully complete, but I want to just go over like what nullable means, what if statements, loops, functions, classes, data classes, printing, lists, how to loop through them, how to filter them, enum classes, and extensions. So I'm going to keep this off to the side, and yeah, we're going to go for it. Let's see. So the first things first, how to create local variables. There's two kinds of variables. There's val and var. Val means that's a constant, it never changes. Var means that it's a variable that can change. Usually you have your name of the variable, then you have a colon hugging the variable name, and then the type. Type doesn't necessarily need to be set or specified if it's clear to what, like as you can see, IntelliJ is pretty smart, and it says, oh, this is great, you don't need to actually specify the type because you can tell based off of just looking at that. The second thing is down here, you can see there's a comma here. And what that means is this variable can be null. Whereas then right here, this is integer, this integer never can be null. It can be pretty handy in Kotlin, and we'll go into that why it's handy, because Kotlin has some protections around this. And you can see this is gray. IntelliJ says, oh, you don't really need to specify null. It's going to set null automatically. Okay, so yeah, IntelliJ is pretty smart. It says, oh, never modified. You can be declared immutable, basically val, because we're not changing it. So we set string to t, so now t is not nullable, but if we pass in into our test function, we have right here, or if we want to say if test string equals f, since string is probably a special case, if we use something else, we'll go into that. I'm thinking we'll test that later, but we'll delete this for now. So I guess that will be our if statement. If test string is f, we'll say print ln. That's how we print to the screen. Test string, and then you can reference variables within a string by using $, and say test. And autocomplete, you can do control space if it doesn't pop up, or it'll pop up by itself and press enter. Test string equals f. And then we'll have an else case, test string does not equal f. And we have our test function right here. Similar, you have your name of your parameter, and then the type you have to specify. Another thing too is IntelliJ does a pretty good job at code formatting. So Control A, and you do Control Alt L to reformat the code. There's also for code, you can go to reformat right here if you're using another machine. Reformat code, reformat code. So right here we have print ln input string input int, and we'll do input string like that. So we'll run this and see what happens. This is the first one. It probably take a little bit to build. After that, it should be pretty quick. All right, test string is not equal to f, and then we have our function right there, easy peasy. Now we're going to move on to creating a variable integer int1, maybe int2 equals nullable. And we can say int2 equals 4. And now if we compare int2 to 5, I think we have ish. Nope, maybe not. Maybe because it's smart enough it knows. If we deleted this, does it have any errors? Yes. Int2 must be initialized. Oh, not 2 equals. 1 equal. Right here. I'm trying to do an example of nullable. Maybe I'll just pull up some of the code over here. Let's look for somewhere, maybe in a script. Tutorial Island. Let's see. We have a question mark. Okay, alright, so here we go. So what we have here is we're saying that this example right here, this item right here, we can go to it, it is nullable. See, it can be null. So what this means is, in order for us to use it, we have to actually use the question mark. So if I wanted to use this right here, and we want to say get text, it's gonna complain saying, hey, this is not a safe call because it can be possibly null. So in order to have a safe call, we say the question mark dot like that. And this actually says, okay, we're good. If it is null, we'll just skip this line and we'll move on. Otherwise, we're going to, we'll be fine. So to get around that too, not having, we can say, hey, I don't care. I know this thing's going to be not null. We're just going to explicitly get it no matter what. And we're going to always call this line, as we have down right here. You're going to run into, if you do that, and I wouldn't say that's the best thing, you can run into problems where you'll have null pointers. So heads up there on that. So let's go back to the other project and let's create an array. So var for list, so integer array, and we'll say int array of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the easy way to create arrays like that, int array, or you can do var array equals array of, array list of, and it can be like any type of collection, maybe string, and then you just do read, and it doesn't have to be prototypes. It could be like if we looked back here, it could be widget items or any class. So those are two different arrays. Looping over arrays is super easy. So what we can do is we get the iterator, and then we say dot for each right here. That's it. So we can do print ln, and then here, as you can see, this is now reference within the for loop, it like this. It's pretty handy, extremely handy. So let's run this and see what it looks like. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Easy, easy. Or you can rename this it if you have like multiple for loops within each other. You can say int it or whatever, and then now we have to reference it within within the scope. So okay, so let's now, maybe we want to filter this array. Since this is not changing, we can make this a val, but we want to filter this array and only print values greater than 6 maybe. So we can dot filter, and we say when the element is greater than or equal to 6, like that. And then we can say for each that. And now we can say println it. We'll do println. We'll make sure we have a breaker in between them. Okay. Rerun. Okay, so you can see that we are now filtering and printing above 6. So that's a very convenient way of filtering objects. So now let's, so that's loops, functions. Let's go into, one thing I like is data classes. So let's create a data class. Data class, and then we'll call this our test data class. What is interesting with the data class is we don't actually have any functions to the data class. You're supposed to just define, oh, no more music. Let's get some music going.
Hey guys, my name is Set the Sky.
My name is Davin.
And we're gonna play a little set for you today.
Here we go. One second, music should be playing soon. Okay, cool. All right, so now we have a data class, and we can create different kinds of variables and stuff. That or var, either case. Val means that when you pass in that that element, that it can't be changed. Like foo can't be changed, but var can be changed because it's var. And let's make sure we have the right formatting, like that. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna create a data class. We'll actually let's create multiple data classes. So val collection of test data array of list, and this will be test data class, and we're going to, so this creates an array list. We should be able to do test data class, and this is an integer. We'll say 5 test, like that. And we'll create another one, or we can add another one like this. Collection dot add, and we'll say test data class 10 test. And so I want to show some pretty cool filtering that we can have here. Let's create one more item. We'll have James, and actually more test 5. We'll change this to 65, 25. And so collection of data filter while it dot foo is greater than, let's say greater than 20, and the it dot bar is equal to or contains test, like that. And we'll go, and we want to then loop over this for each print ln, and we'll just do print it. And basically what's that going to do is it's going to filter these two items out, and then it will then check to see, okay, that matches this condition, then it will check to see if test is in the bar, and then it should only print out this one. So let's print it and see what happens. All right, so yeah, it only printed that one class where foo bar has test. Now we remove this condition, it should have the 2 on the bottom, these two. See, right there, perfect. It's pretty nice. The filtering is super nice. Let's see, what else do we want to go over? We have looping of lists, filtering a list, enums. Something I always forget, enum class, but it's very handy. So let's do a little Google Googling Kotlin enum. Enum classes. So, so one thing that's different in Java in Kotlin is you don't actually have to create like getters and setters. We can then do it dot foo. We can try to set that, but it won't work because, hey, this is smart enough. It knows that this is a val. You can't reassign the val, but we can say bar, and we can reset this to new. And then this should update in the collection. For each print ln it. Alright, so we'll see if these guys got, yep, you can see they got reevaluated or reset bar. So super nice. Okay, so let's the new enum class is actually pretty handy. So you can have a few different kinds of enums. Enum class, and we'll just say color or stoplight. And we just want to have red, green, blue, or red, green, yellow, red, yellow, green, or whatever. Like that. So then you can reference these by going like stoplight dot red. Oh yeah, win cases too. Let's see, where case. I think that's what it is. Or when. Okay, so when we'll save our light equals this is a stoplight. I'm gonna set this to red, and then we can say when light, and then we have all our conditions. Red, print, and then this is red. Oops. Print. And we want to have, oh, actually this when condition. Okay, so let's delete those two. So this one thing with IntelliJ, it's pretty nice. It highlights things. So we're going to do Alt Enter, and then it says remaining, we can add remaining branches, like that, bam. And actually, when you have to do like this in the code and it runs and it hits this, it actually throws an exception and say, hey, you have not done this. So it's kind of handy. I say print when green, print ln yellow. And let's run this, and you should get that this is red. Yep. Perfect. So that's pretty handy for enumerations and stuff like that. We can actually have different kinds of enumerations that have values in them. So I'll just copy something I see over here as an example. So you can have a color class with an RGB value, and so you initialize the RGB value. So then you can do color dot blue, and then you're like, okay, I want to actually have the RGB value, or you can actually have the name too. See that? So it's pretty handy, and I've used that. Let's see. Okay, also some fast shortcuts for searching everything within this file. Control F, right here. If you want to search and replace within the file, you do Control R. So this is the input and this is the output. And it's pretty handy. You can actually search and replace within a selection, search only in a selection, and do a search and replace only selection, all different things. So to search within all of the project, do Control Shift F, and there we go. Lots of different things. Here we go. New class, app code, just load return. See if we have any other enum class. Okay. Menu option code. So menu option code, different versions, and then the ID for that. So that's a new other. This is new class. Let's see. Okay, looks like this is for the GE. For widgets, index widgets, and var bit values. So var bit values, and so that's can be another example of a new enum class. Let's take a look. Extension. So this is a pretty handy thing. Extensions. So if you have a class, let's go to this. Say we have a, oops, let's go here. So we have a stoplight class and we want to have some like modification to the stoplight class or some other class that's defined that we might want to add on to. So let's just look at it together. Kotlin extensions. We could add things to other classes. So we have a shape class, and we might want to extend that by by adding a get name. It's not defined within the shape class. It can be defined outside this shape class, and you say get name, say shape. So it's nice. So you just say class, and then you add an extension function onto it. So an example would be function and stoplight, and then get class name, and we can say print stoplight like that. This might need to go after, or enum. Can we add? Maybe it's, oh, it's conflicting. There's already a get class name. Get class name 3. Oh, maybe not. Let's change this to the test data class. Must have a body. Okay, so let's create another class. Class test class. Let's see. Add function body. Okay. Where was the example? Okay. Equals like that. Maybe we'll open class. Oh, it's not the, that's the issue right there. Bam. And this will be your test class. Could this have been on stoplight as well? Okay. We'll change this back to stoplight and delete this test class. So you can do stoplight dot get class, or actually you need a it needs to be an object. Get class name 3. Well, it doesn't like that. Well, let's change this to the color. No, maybe this one. Test data class. Okay. Like that. There we go. Let's run this. I should say test data class once you do a print. What's happening? A return value function lambda expressed only body? It's weird. Does it need to be equals? Okay, there we go. I think that fixed it. It didn't. I don't think it called the print line. So let's try that again. Alright, yeah, there you go, test data class. So you have your object and then you call your get class name3 and it prints out test data class. So get extensions can be pretty handy. I use it for creating like a private API, but but yeah, so let's see. I think that might cover all of Kotlin things. I did talk about autocomplete. I talked about yeah, I did auto fixing. So if you were to have that error, you can do Alt Enter and say there's a bunch of different options. Change the parameters, create functions, create secondary constructor, all the different options that IntelliJ does a pretty good job with. Maybe I could look at this tutorial ILN script if there's anything in here that will just jump out. Okay, so for functions, return values, you define that with this colon and then the return type. And as you can see right here, this int question mark means it can be nullable return back. This is how you create a random number right here. It's pretty simple. Okay, so Kotlin has this thing called coroutines to create like kind of lightweight threads. And within the threads, if you want to call a function within the coroutine, you have to have suspend, especially if you have a delay in it. It's just to be suspended. Let's take a look at where this is This is also, okay. See if we can find, nope. Global scope. Oops. Global scope. Right here, global scope launch. This is how we launch a thread. Right here. In a coroutine scope. And then you can actually have like delays in the thread. So pretty easy to add in threads. Let's see. Going back to tutorial island, if there's anything that jumps out. I think that might be it. Yeah, I think so. I think going over, if you have a null object, you use the question mark dot. Oh, this is handy too, is if this thing is null, then how do we handle the null case? Especially if you're executing, you can't just skip this line because it returns something. You can say, okay, well, if this line is null, you can say question mark colon and what the value of it should be when it's null. So that's another handy thing. So, alright, well, I think I'm probably going to end it here, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Hopefully this was helpful.